All right, here we go. Episode 5, I believe, of our
Yes.
podcast, The Sports Den.
I can't believe you're keeping count.
Well, and now here we are on the road. We're first time we're
Oh,
doing
I
this
know.
remotely.
We're taking it on our show on the road.
We are from the Santa Ana. It's not the Star Center. It's the Event Center now.
It's the Rio Rancho Events Center. Yeah.
Rio Rancho Events Center. There you go. And girls basketball, the quarterfinals started today. So that's where James and I have been pretty much
Yes.
since the sun came up. And we'll be here long after everyone else goes home. So
Yeah.
lots
That's if
of
they don't kick you
basketball.
out first.
Lots and lots of basketball. And but this is the good time. By the end of the week, we're going to be so sick and tired of basketball that I'll never want to see another game for the rest of my life. But then we still have college basketball right after that too. So
I know
it's
you
gonna
got
be
the Lobos, man. So
yeah,
I mean, it's
just
you
just
just
the start.
might as well just turn into a basketball junkie, man. Just dive into the addiction. Come on.
The wife is a widow for hoops this week, which is fine.
There you go.
But like you actually got here earlier than I did. So James, what did you
Yeah,
see?
I was here
earlier
at
today?
I was here at 8 in the morning, but
8.
8 in the morning
Yes. That's a long.
for the
That's
Pecos for the Pecos Mescalero game. By the way, I just need to mention this for anybody who wants to know who that handsome gentleman is right over my shoulder. That would be this guy right here.
that's right. We're yeah.
we're, we're we are literally like 15 feet away from each other, but we couldn't be next to each other
Because of the
because
echo.
our audio echo would echo, or at least I would echo off his audio.
And we tried to do
Apparently,
it inside the arena, but it's too loud in there.
yeah, it was too loud, and our show killer just could not handle all the ambient noise.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
so we
see,
have to go out here. I blame the Laguna fans, basically the Laguna Acoma fans. They're just too loud.
you and I talk a lot about how noisy the state tournament gets, but you get in here for some of these early morning games, it's not really like that at all. Like
Oh no, it's like a tune.
my first game today, it was lifeless. Complete. There were some people in here. There were a few hundred people,
Yeah.
but even the players are quiet. It's a weird feeling sometimes.
Well, even in the first two games and I was the one that covered the Pecos Mescalero game, and then I had West Las Vegas against Newcomb, and even the winning teams were like, yeah, it took us about a quarter to kind of get going. Even though, talking to Pecos coach Lawrence Ragland, he said that his kids practice in the morning from like 5:30 to 7:30 to kind of prepare for this. Even an 8 o'clock start was just not enough for them to kind of get their energy going, and so those first quarters were pretty rough. But then you kind of saw the team that picked up the energy in the second quarter really kind of carried it through the rest of the game, and that's why Pecos and West Las Vegas were so dominant. And I kind of figure like right around noontime, because I think kids are just kind of finally awake. They tend to play a little bit better, and man, Indian school, in the 3A girls game in the afternoon, they really took it to Cobre, and I'm sure you can talk a little bit more about that, Will, because you were the man watching that.
Yeah. Before we get into that, though, I do want to point out your wardrobe. You're looking sharp today, there, big man.
Yes, thank you.
Shirt and a tie. Yeah, it's a
Dude,
typical James Barron uniform for the state tournament.
I've only been doing this for 22 years, man. This is the only week I ever dressed up. Even Chris is jealous that I do it only for state basketball.
Me, I almost brushed my hair today, so I decided not to. It's too early in the week to brush my hair. I'll wait till about Thursday before I start doing that.
I hope at least you brush your teeth.
Did I? Maybe I might have. Well, it's too early. It's too early. You look by the end of the week.
Well, my problem is that I wake up with Chris at the same time, and so she demands that I brush my teeth, and so I really have no choice. I can't go in with morning breath at all.
Well, the last game I sat through was the Santa Fe Indian School girls game, and they were playing Cobre. And first of all, I think you were in the arena for this one. They had some technical difficulties with the audio, which delayed the start by about 7 minutes. The PA guy's microphone kept cutting in and out, which was a delightful beginning to that. The best part about the whole thing, the highlight of the game, because the game was not particularly good, was during they were getting ready for the national anthem. And since the PA guy's mic had cut out, you couldn't hear what he was saying. And right off the bat, they started playing the national anthem, scared everyone in the building because everyone had to stand up. Everyone had to stand up. So in this uniform mass, everyone had to stand up for the national anthem, as if we were being somehow disrespectful for missing the first couple of bars. And so after that, it was all downhill because the game was just terrible. The Indian school
certainly
scored the
was.
first 10 points. And then Cobra was 8 for 29 shooting free throws. 8 for
I
29.
that,
Now, I am
even
pretty
when they
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
if I'd have put the ball on a tee and kicked it from media row, I might have made 8 out of 29. I could have, maybe. So that's what kind of game that was.
No, it was. And generally your quarterfinal games for the most part tend to be probably the worst of all the games because you do have a lot of mismatches. Generally, like your 3-6 and your 4-5 matchups tend to be a little bit better. And
Hmm.
two-way side, the Tucumcari Albuquerque Legacy Academy game was actually pretty good. Um, Tucumcari, I think, had the lead up to 12 twice in that game before Legacy Academy came back and closed the gap on them and actually had a chance to win it, or at least tie it in force overtime. Didn't happen, but that was probably the only game of note that was really fun to watch from start to finish. Um, tonight maybe the Tahachi Robertson game could be that game. It really kind of depends on how Robertson's bench plays because again, as we talked about, I think last week, um, they lost their star guard in Taylor Quintana, and that really affects them because she was kind of the engine, the cog to that engine that they have. And without her, they've kind of sputtered a little bit, and they didn't have any depth last week because they couldn't use any of their JV or not last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry. Um, they couldn't use them for their district tournament because district rules say that you can't use JV players for a varsity tournament if you're using them for for the JV tournament. So they were kind of screwed on that end. But they came back. They beat Sandia Prep, I think 58-11. So they look like Robertson of old. We'll see what happens tonight. But that's probably the most interesting game that's left tonight, at least here.
Well, that's sad to know because we have to be here till the very end.
Well, you do. I can leave after 6:30, but I'll probably stick it out anyway.
James, you're not selling this, man. I'm trying to motivate myself to be here for the rest of the evening, and you're not selling it very well.
Dude, I told you the 4-5 matchup is always a competitive one. So
I fell
what more do
asleep
you want?
halfway through that because I'm sitting 20 feet away from the concession stand, and I'm eyeballing some pizza right now, so I was a little distracted. You know,
And unfortunately, we're too far away from the hospitality room where you could just take off real quick and come back.
well, that's true. Look, I can't. The thing I'm looking forward to is the start of the boys tournament on Wednesday. Get some pretty
That's
decent games. And
a very good game.
the one I'm really looking forward to is watching Taos at 8 a.m. in the pit on Wednesday.
Yes,
Just
yeah.
because they're the one team that just kind of got hot. And I was talking to someone from Pewaukee because they're the ones who knocked Pewaukee out in the first round. They said, look, the Taos is getting hot at the right time. They ran into a Pewaukee team that had some infighting, they had some chemistry issues, and Taos
Yeah.
got them at the right time. So, look, I can't anticipate a huge crowd for that Taos Academy game. But the thing is, Taos is kind of taking on that look and feel of a team who might be able to knock a couple
Cinderella.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be that team.
So the thing with Taos, what they've been able to do is they've been able to establish their inside game. And then that forces defenses to collapse. That opens up the shooters, and the shooters have just been knocking down shots, especially Mateo Salazar. He's been a really big key to Taos' success over the last couple of weeks. If they can hit some shots and get that momentum going early, and Academy's not a team as good as they are. I mean, Grants gave them a tough game for about 2.5, 3 quarters before Academy pulled away. It's conceivable that Taos could beat Academy. I thought out of the top 4 seeds, Academy probably the weakest one, even though it's kind of interesting saying that because people I think would argue that it's really Espanola. But I thought Academy was the one team that might not make it to the semifinals. And I mean, here we are with the Cinderella team in Taos that might have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, 3A is out here in Rio Rancho tomorrow, which is to me that's
2A and 3A.
yeah. Well, 2A and 3A, and those are really the most compelling brackets as far as northern New Mexico goes for us.
Yeah.
So it's like a full day for the two of us out here on Wednesday. But I'm looking forward to seeing how St. Mike's responds. Look, they did beat the snot out of Santa Fe Prep during the first round of the state tournament, but it was Santa Fe Prep and they were playing a home game. I just want to see how they do out here. If they can somehow maintain that level of intensity and keep getting through. They did look good, but we'll see now the competition starts to step up a little bit because they still have those expectations of being the top seed. Can they hold this thing together long enough to get to Saturday?
And the tough part, and we talked about this before about St. Mike's, and I think everybody kind of knows the conventional wisdom is they want to get the ball inside, they want to use their bigs, they want to be able to force turnovers so that way they can start their transition game. And when you can't do either one of those, that's where St. Mike starts to struggle. And in a place like the Rio Rancho Events Center, where it's a different atmosphere, you don't have those frame of references that you usually have in a gym to be able to shoot. Can St. Mike's hit enough outside shots, whether they be, mid-range jumpers or even three-point shots, to be able to withstand a game in which they can't get those turnovers and get those easy buckets like they've been able to do for most of the season?
I like what they do in the 3A bracket this year is you win here, you take a day off, and then you go to the
And then
pit
you go
for the
yeah,
semifinals, which is the best thing for them. Look, because traditionally this level has drawn decent sized crowds. Now you're throwing 3A in the pit, which I think is where it should be.
yeah,
So we'll see. And you have the potential of having both semifinals being 3 of the 4 teams from up north, which is also exciting stuff. But look, we've both seen Robertson. Robertson looks much improved. The
yes,
team
it
no
is.
one seems to talk about is the Indian School. The Indian School seems to show up every year this time of year. And you want to say dark horse, but they're not really a dark horse. They're just a good basketball program who knows how to win come March.
No, they absolutely do. And when you've got the offensive firepower like they do with the Collado brothers, Kenyon, Dontre, and Tavian, if any one of those guys or two or three of those out of those guys, they go off and score 40, 50 points combined, all of a sudden it's a different dynamic because as teams have seen, when those guys get hot, you could send 6 guys at them and they're still going to get that shot off and they're still going to make it just because that's kind of the heat check moments that they do have. So the Indian School Tehachapi game is going to be pretty interesting. I always kind of thought that Tehachapi was the one team, even though they were a top 4 seed, that was the one team I thought that could easily get knocked out in the quarterfinal round. Of course, I didn't think Indian School was going to be the 6th seed, but I thought somebody like a Bosque School or West Las Vegas would be that team to trip them up in that quarterfinal round. That it happens to the Indian School is just how the draw played out. With that said, I think Indian School's got a really good shot at beating Tehachapi, and I'm sure the Cougars, those guys have probably been hearing it since the start of the bracket that they're the weak link in this whole group. That they're the team that everybody wants to see, whether it be in the quarterfinals or the semifinals. And maybe they show up with a chip on their shoulder and they pull and they beat Indian School. And it's going to be interesting, but you never hear about a 3 seed upsetting a 6, but that might be the case here with Tehachapi.
One, you had a chance to watch Santa Fe High last week, which is a bummer. We don't have a 5A representative in this state tournament, but the 5A tournament looks like a lot of fun too. It's gonna be
Oh,
a
it's
good weekend.
No, it certainly does, and we do kind of have a little bit of a connection there to the north. I mean, you still got Cleveland that's alive, and former Santa Fe High coach and Espanola grad Zach Holt is coaching that squad, and they're going to have an interesting game against Hobbs in the quarterfinal round tomorrow. The other one is Leroy Barella. He's a Las Vegas Robertson grad, former Las Vegas Robertson girls coach. So, and now he's at Albuquerque High, and his Bulldogs will play Sandia in the 6-3 matchup there in the 5A bracket. So, there's a couple of reasons why to watch the 5A bracket. Obviously, people that love prep sports, they're going to say, they want to see the Volcano Vista Sandia matchup in the championship game. But I mean, I've said this to a couple of people, especially after seeing Albuquerque High on Saturday. I think the Bulldogs could make a run to the semifinals, maybe even to the championship game, just with the way that they play. I mean, they play really good defense. They've got good shooters all the way around. They've got enough size to where they can actually match up decently with some teams.
And then right in the middle of all this, you got the college basketball stuff going on. The
That's
Mountain
right.
West tournament starts. It started earlier this week for the women, but the men start Wednesday. Lobo basketball team opens its first game in the quarterfinals at 1:00 on Thursday, which is great for me because they've always usually played that 9 or 10 o'clock game the first right off the bat. And if you have never lived until you've tried to write a 10 o'clock game story on deadline. I've got gray hairs from the last few years from that finalist room. And now they play a 1:00 game. Now I got all day. I can watch high school
Yeah, you do.
basketball.
You do got all day, and the only thing you have to worry about is on Thursday. I think the 115 girls game or girls semifinal is Indian School and West, so you don't have to worry about that. You've got you've got this guy right here that could take care of that for you. So you can just sit there and watch a Lobo game.
Oh man, I tell you, in girls, or really boys and girls high school basketball games, you can set. You can. It's their games never take more than an hour and 20 minutes,
No, they
maybe
don't.
an hour and 25. Even if the game goes to overtime, high school games go really, really quickly. When you think about watching high school sport or any basketball game, you're thinking 2.5, 3 hours because of all the TV timeouts and all that. High school stuff is super efficient. You are done
It
in
is.
no time at all. That's why you can schedule games 90 minutes apart at these tournaments. Maybe give them an extra
TV
15
time.
minutes to warm up. Yeah, it's great.
Thank God for no TV timeouts.
Oh, golly. That's why
Oh, that's the pain of every college basketball writer. Those 3-minute timeouts.
it's every 4 minutes they go to a TV break, and then you got the reviews, and it's just it's a nightmare. But we could talk about the Lobos, and of course we got baseball. My favorite sport of all time is right in the middle of it too, and then the lots of NFL stuff too.
Wait a minute. That's your favorite sport, but for the rest of the state, it's happening right now with basketball. So
Basketball.
you're sounding the trumpet and nobody's following, dude.
Yeah, well, yeah. I will give you a college baseball update. And I noticed New Mexico Highlands lost their most recent game 31-0 to Colorado Mesa. I was looking at their box score. They gave up 20 runs on 22 or 30 runs on 22 hits. They hit 10 guys and they walked 10 guys. So that's really good stuff. Really good
Well,
stuff.
that sounds like a high school game, man. I mean, is that high school pitching there that they were knocking off?
Yeah, they had 3 straight guys from Cibola come take the mound. So there it is. It is kind of high school pitching, but yeah, when I saw that score, I was like, wow. It's a good thing we chose not to go to New Mexico Highlands to watch them play that one. But
no, that would be brutal, man.
Yeah, so we can get into the Lobos, we can get into some more high school stuff, and then we'll do all that. Now that I've rearranged myself, so not in James' direct line of sight, I had to move because it was very distracting to see me hanging right over his shoulder there.
You're still right there.
Yeah, they're right there. There I am. Good stuff. It's high quality podcast information here. I'm gonna have to keep scooching over. I just swear you keep moving so you can see.
I'm not moving, man. I think it's the ground, man. We're on a rift here in Albuquerque, Rio Grande Rift. So that those 2 or 3 millimeters, you just keep moving into my line of sight.
All right, we're gonna take a break. We'll come right back and we'll finish this thing off. All right, we're back. We're in the home stretch of this high school basketball March Madness special for this podcast. We're on location at the Santa. I know. Why do I keep calling the Santa Ana Star Center?
I know. Everybody wants to do that. I do that sometimes.
The Rio Rancho Events Center, buddy. The Rio Rancho Events Center. It's where professional teams in New Mexico go to die. The Scorpions came here to die. The Albuquerque Thunderbirds went extinct playing in this building. So high school basketball seems to have found a home here. Although they still do use the floor used by the Thunderbirds. That's
right. They just took off. They finally took off all the logos. Did you notice that? Finally, after like a decade. They haven't been here in like 10 years.
Somebody got a bottle of varnish and they varnished on the state of New Mexico right in the middle. But
they still left the NBA 3-point lines there. And all the kids keep shooting from the NBA 3 line.
Yeah. And that's a big difference. That's about a 4.5 foot difference too. And kids, you see kids are just chucking threes and they land at least 2 or 3 feet short. So
yeah, it's brutal sometimes. Although I saw in the Tucumcari game, their guard hit one right from the top of the key, right there from the 23-foot line, the NBA line, and nailed it. Man, it was impressive to watch because you don't see that too often from the girls' side.
And it's a very airy building too. That backdrop is it can throw you off.
Brutal.
If you're used to playing in a very confined high school gym, usually with a white or gray wall right behind the basket. Here, it just drops off. There's a good 200 feet behind each basket of nothing. So it could throw you off. I could see how they would do that.
After everybody leaves tonight, we should just grab a basketball and just study how we shoot in this.
Just go run up and down the court. I'd be exhausted after about one trip down the floor.
I couldn't do that because I don't have the shoes for it. I'd have to take my shoes off or else they'll yell at me for that.
Running around in your dress shoes. Who is this guy?
Yeah, I've already gotten the look from a couple of people whenever I walk on the court. Like just stay off the main court. You can stay on that wood.
As the New Mexicans should know full well, stay off the court during the New Mexico State basketball tournament. All right. I think I think we won't go there, but yeah,
That's an inside joke. Only JP Murrieta is going to get that one.
there's been bans issued for walking onto the course, so let's just not go there. Uh,
Yes.
all
Yes.
right. So look, today the Mountain West Conference came out with its all conference teams. It was kind of cool because this is the first time I had a chance to vote um, in that process. And I will say this: out of the 15 players who were named first, second, and third team, I had 14 of the 15 that were listed on there. The only exception was Evan Taylor, who's a guard from Air Force, was listed third team. I had True Washington on the third team from
Only
UNM.
third?
I only third, yeah. I did vote for Donovan Dent Player of the Year. He was named Player of the Year, but the first team was spot on. Donovan Difford or Donovan Dent, Neek Clifford from Colorado State, Nelly Jr. Joseph from UNM, Tyson Dagenhart from Boise State, and God, who was the fifth one? That'll come to me.
Yeah,
Ian Martinez from
that's right.
Utah State.
That's right.
Coach of the year was Richard Pitino. I did not actually vote for Pitino. I thought Nico Medved, the Colorado State coach, deserved that honor just because they were picked seventh in the preseason and they finished second, a very strong second to UNM. But congratulations to Coach Pitino. It's the first time in, I believe, 12 years that UNM has had the coach of the year and at least two players in the first team. So
And don't forget the defensive player of the year too.
Defensive Player of the Year went to Magoon Guath
Oh,
from
it
San
was.
Diego State. I actually voted for Nelly Jr. Joseph as
Joey
Defensive
Junior
Player of the Year,
Joseph. Yeah.
but apparently that was a pretty close race. As was the Newcomer of the Year, went to a player from Boise State. I did vote for Kobe Sanders from Utah, who has averaged 15 points a game for them. For Nevada.
For sure.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this: did Dent or Washington deserve to be on the all defensive team? Was that a snub? Was that a bit of a snub?
I thought Washington should have, because
Yeah.
True has always been UNM's Revis Island type player. He's their shutdown cornerback. He's that guy who's assigned to the best offensive player from the other team, because he's the guy who reads passing lanes. He's very quick, and that's his thing. He's just got that mentality. It's hard to teach a kid to play defense, and it's in his DNA, and he likes to talk about it. He likes to play it. And when he scores 10 points a game, the Lobos are still undefeated. They're 17-0 when he scores at least 10 points. But he's out there for defense. I thought he should have been, but you look, they're all defensive team. Had some really good players on there between Magoon Guath, Mason Falslev from Utah State was a very good player. So they had Neek Clifford was on the defensive team. I did not have Neek Clifford on there. That was the only discrepancy I had between mine and theirs. But no, it was a banner year for UNM. And we'll see if their head coach returns for another year. I doubt it. We'll see if Donovan Dent returns for another year. I doubt it. But for now, it's like I tell Lobo fans everywhere who are already starting to panic, just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the ride because you got another week and a half, 2 weeks left. And then when it's over, it ends suddenly and you lose
Oh yeah.
contact with these guys. And then that is it. And then so as soon as that team loses in the NCAA tournament, that's when we start talking about where's Patino going to go?
Oh, and then where's Dent going to go? Where's Washington going to go? Where are all these kids going to end up? And how new of a team are we going to be looking at? 6, right?
Right. So we'll see how the Lobos do in the Mountain West tournament. The
So
top
so if
half of
you
the
go
bracket that they're in. Well,
on
top.
15 for,
Go
sorry,
ahead. Go ahead.
you go ahead. No, I was going to say, if you went 15 for 15, do you get anything from the conference? Do you get an award?
Yeah, I should have. I should. They
Yeah.
should send me a little plaque or like a bobblehead or something. That'd be good.
Yeah, I was going to say 14 out of 15 is pretty good, man. But 15 out of 15, you should have been like, there should have been like some award named after you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see how the Lobos do in this tournament. I get the impression that they will not win it. I could be wrong, but the fact is they do not need to win the Mountain West tournament this year, as opposed to last year they had to just to get in. The top half of the bracket that they're in, all three of their losses are against teams that they're potentially going to face in the next 2 rounds. San Jose State, whom they lost to on the road, which is one of their worst losses of the season. And then the winner of that game, if they win, they'll play either San Diego State or Boise State in the semifinals. And everyone talks. So I've talked to probably a dozen Lobo fans since I've been here today. They all want to know what's wrong with San Diego State. And my short answer is nothing. San Diego State, since 2007, has won at least 2 games in the tournament every year since then. It's one
Wow,
of the
that's
most
impressive.
unbelievable runs. Yeah, sometimes they've missed that first round bye. They've had a chance to play out of the early rounds, but it's remarkable what they've been able to do. And I think I think San Diego State's probably the team to beat going into the conference tournament, but we'll see.
Are they in a situation? And I think you may have mentioned this before, but I mean, you look at that matchup between them and Boise State and everything. Is that a play-in game for one of them, or do you feel like even if San Diego State loses, they're still going to get in?
I think the loser actually might miss the NCAA tournament, and that's a huge thing because look, Boise State's right in the bubble, especially after losing their last game of the season against Colorado State. I think San Diego State's in danger too. They're basically 11 or 12 seed on everyone's bracket, which is basically as low as you can get if you're going to be a Mountain West team. They're not going to seed you lower than that. So I think the loser of that game potentially gets knocked out. So we'll see. It's man, I what I wouldn't do to get out of here just for a few days to go up to Las Vegas just to see it, just to be around that crowd, the atmosphere, that would be fun. But
Well,
hey,
one of these
someone's
days,
got to
maybe we
keep
should
you
make it
here.
happen.
Someone's got to keep you company here, Barron. Somebody's got to
No,
keep
you
an eye
don't.
on
I can handle this all by myself.
you.
I mean, I'll
Jeez.
die doing it, but I can handle it.
I'll be like, "Where's Barron? He's at that pizza place right over my
Right
shoulder
over
over
here.
there."
I'm just curled up in the corner there with a big pizza pie. I've given up on high school sports.
Now, now, I do have another baseball thing I have to bring up, and I actually shared this with you guys yesterday too. I went to the Albuquerque Isotopes. They had an unveiling for their new
Oh
identity.
yes.
Yeah, I went to their new the unveiling for the identity. So of course I went down there. I wasn't sure what to expect. I knew it was going to be something like they've done the green chili cheeseburgers, they've done the mariachis, they've done all the little odds and ends things that they've done over the years. Well, this one they unveiled a City Connect uniform. So I got to the stadium with some of the media, and they showed about a 3 or 4 minute video. Just a little hype video that they did on the scoreboard, and then they take you into the gift shop there, and they show you their new City Connect uniform. And the nicest way I can put it is anyone who is a fan of the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s, the black alternate uniforms they used to wear, the pinstripes, it looks like those uniforms got together and had a baby with the Chicago White Sox City Connect uniforms, and the baby didn't look good. Let's just say it that way. And so I was not a fan. Is that the old English lettering says Duke City? Look, I'm in the minority here, but I just don't. I'm not crazy about all these City Connect uniforms, and it felt to me a little bit like trying hard. So,
Yeah.
man, with saying that, I might have just had my credential revoked from the X-Dope. So,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, we're screwed. That's okay. We
yeah.
we we weren't big fans of the uniform anyhow. It kind of like threw you back into the 90s. It was like, are these guys going to be like wearing like the baggy shorts and everything when they go out there?
Yeah,
Instead of their tight whites.
yeah. To me, you've got an original name, the Isotopes, which has its own backstory. Their uniforms are pretty cool to begin with, and it's just I don't know. It just didn't. It was one of these things where is that really necessary? And plus, look, let's just throw this out there. You have a chance to do a City Connect uniform for the city of Albuquerque, New Mexico. So what are you thinking about? You're thinking Route 66, balloons,
Yes,
maybe.
yes.
The
Green
silver
chili.
ribbon of the Rio Grande or something like that. But I'm not thinking black pinstripe jerseys with red pinstripes and the old English lettering. I'm not thinking that. And so I was a little disappointed. I was a lot disappointed. So look, maybe I'm too old for this. I don't know. But that's how I stand on it.
Yeah, I think you're too old for this. You probably complain that they're the Albuquerque green chili cheeseburgers for like 2 nights out of the year.
Actually, I kind of did. Yeah. Like what?
See,
Really?
actually, I'm kind of with you on that. I think that's kind of lame as well, but that's just me. Everybody else eats it up, but that's okay.
And it's you could kind of blame minor league baseball to begin with all this stuff because they're the ones who came up with the oddball identities and the mascots and the Lansing Lugnuts and the Montgomery Biscuits and the Albuquerque Isotopes. these weird logos because it sells well. But then you started seeing NBA teams wearing different kind of uniform. Now you turn on an NBA game, you have no idea who you're watching because their uniforms are different every night. Where it's, I don't know, to me it was always better when you had your home and roads, maybe an alternate, and that was it. Now it's, I don't know. There you go.
It's not just marketing. Everybody's got to make a buck off of something,
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is.
It's like the Lobo basketball team wore 7 different uniforms this year. Everyone's doing it. Maybe you and I.
At some point, we're gonna have to start selling merchandise just to keep our podcast going. Once we get to 1,000, we just need to start selling things. Like a Will Weber bobblehead.
Yeah, we
have just one because we can't afford anything more than that.
That'd be a big bobblehead, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it could be a big head. It could be a fat head. How about that?
Yeah, I was gonna say
just a Will Weber fat head. So that way you could compete with the Jeff Grammer fat head.
Yeah. And with that, I think that it tells you a lot about my personalities. I fear change, and that all the new stuff is not crazy about it. But,
yeah, you're about ready to ship yourself off to Canada now, right?
No, I can't get into Canada. None of us can. None of us can get into Mexico either.
They haven't excommunicated us yet. They haven't seen our podcast.
You have to tunnel under the border. That's what I'm gonna have to do.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've had to tunnel under to get out.
And with that, we finally reached the end of the podcast.
We've kind of come to a very depressing ending,
It's terrible. See, that's what happens when you come to the Rio Rancho Events Center, and some of the games are terrible. We ran out of things to talk about, even though we have a million things to talk about.
I know. We just kind of sped through. We didn't even talk about 2A boys basketball, but we can save that for another time.
2A boys basketball. Who's going to win that? Did you change your pick last year or last week?
What was my pick last week? Did I say?
I think you said Mesa Vista.
Did I say Mesa Vista? Yeah, I'll go with Mesa Vista.
You just made that up.
Mesa Vista over Texaco, yeah.
You just made that up.
No, I do remember now. It was Mesa Vista over Texaco. We're gonna have to roll the tape.
You just took a bunch of spaghetti and threw it against the wall to see what would stick right there.
Yeah, I've changed my 3A boys pick. I'm going with Bosque School.
Bosque School beating St. Mike's, and then have Gerard Garcia run around the floor, cut down the net.
We didn't even talk about that part, man. What happens if Bosque and St. Mike's meet in the semifinals in the pit Friday with Gerard Garcia, now the assistant coach? Actually, they call him technically the defensive coordinator for Bosque School, but Gerard Garcia is your defensive coordinator going up against the school that didn't think he was good enough to coach their team anymore.
I tell you what, if they win, you and I should go get a ladder with a pair of scissors so he can cut down the nets by himself. And plus, he's still technically an employee of St. Mike's, so it's the best of both worlds for him.
We need to get him some New Mexican scissors if we're going to cut the net. Again, I'm thinking of marketing.
We could sponsor it, the whole thing. The ladders brought to you by newmexican.com or whatever.
There you go.
All right, man. We just limped to the finish line with this bad boy.
Yeah, we sure did. Boy, Will, you look like you need another pizza.
Yeah, well, I'm getting a little hangry here. We're sitting this close to the concession stand. I need some food. Look, I'm staring right at that chicken one over here, right next to you.
What? You go from pizza to chicken? There's hot dogs in the next lane at the next concession stand over.
Oh yeah, I might have to go do that.
We just get a hot dog, a chicken sandwich, and then on the other side there's the I think it's a Laguna burger or something, but they sell cheeseburgers there, and you should just get one of each and just eat your sorrows away for the rest of the night.
Maybe I could turn it into like an expense report. I could review all of the concession stands here. I could do that.
Yeah, we could, man. I mean, this is considered work, right?
And I'll tell you where not start. Don't start at the pizza stand. Don't start at the pizza. Don't start eating pizza right here because I started there. Don't go there. All right. It feels a little. It tastes a little like store-bought stuff that is a little dehydrated. Just say it.
Was it like would you compare it to like DiGiorno or was it like Red Baron pizza?
DiGiorno, dried out DiGiorno.
Or Totino's. How about that one? Totino's.
It's like
that's always a good one.
It was those to moisten it up. I think someone had a spray bottle and they squirted some juice on it before they put it in the toaster oven. That's what they did. See, now they're all staring at me. They're over the pizza.
Yeah, I know.
They could hear me talking smack about it.
Paid enough for you to critique them, so
yeah.
They're probably expecting a really big tip now.
yeah.
By the way, I just want you to know I haven't moved an inch but you've moved at least like an inch here. So I think it's you more than me that's moving. I think your antsiness to get some food is probably causing you to, move that way.
Is that what that is? Okay.
I think it is. I think it's your stomach moving you.
If they have Laguna Burger, I'm going over there because I've had some of those at Lobo games, and yeah, 2 thumbs up, buddy.
They're hit and miss. They're hit and miss. I've had some that are good, and then some where I'm just like, why did I even pick this?
See, maybe they could be a sponsor, Laguna Burger.
Laguna Burger presents in the sports den.
That would make me very happy because I like Laguna Burger.
What about
All
Pizza
right,
Nine? Come on, those guys.
Pizza
You already
9.
critiqued them. We might as well get some money off of them.
My daughter worked at Pizza 9, so I grew to not like it at all. I ate Pizza 9 every day for like, 6 weeks.
Okay,
So,
well, that explains it now. It's not really about what they're doing here. It's about what you had to deal with for
right.
what 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
All
All
right,
right.
folks.
Should we call it quits now?
Yeah, next week maybe we'll go on location again because when the NCAA tournament selection stuff comes out, maybe I'll be in Lexington.
You should be at the You should be at the airport. We should do it from the airport. You should.
As I'm going through security, we can do that.
Yeah, there you go. You just carry it around.
Yeah.
And as a show of solidarity, I'll go to the Sunport and I'll just sit over there at that coffee shop just before the entrance.
Sounds good. All right.
There you go.
All right, show killer. We're gonna
Alrighty.
call it a wrap. And next week we'll see you again, hopefully with a lot to regurgitate from basketball, but not regurgitate this pizza because yeek. Thanks. No thanks.
And with that, we should just end it right there.
All right. Talk to you later.